Hello, everyone. A very good noon to all of you. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible. And this topic of today is visible to you. So, you know what we are going to discuss today. We are going to understand how to understand the theme of an RC passage, right? A common problem that is faced by a lot of students. I get a lot of queries regarding this that I'm not able to narrow down, I'm not able to zero in on the main idea of the passage. So, let's understand how to do that, right? It's not rocket science, and there are just a couple of things that you need to take care of there. So, let's see how to zero in on the central message, the main idea of an RC passage, right? Hello, Manoj. Good afternoon. Hi, Sonali. Good afternoon. Right. So, we'll understand how to read an RC passage and we'll comprehend one RC passage and we'll solve questions on that RC passage, right? So, it's going to be reading, understanding, solving, all of it together, right? Because if you've understood the central idea, if you've understood the main idea, then you should also be able to solve the questions based on that RC passage. So, that's going to be the effort today, right? Okay. So I think the first thing that we need to understand is that there is a reason why this is called a reading comprehension passage, right? You have to read something and you have to understand something out of it. So what exactly do you have to understand or comprehend? Yes, that's the question. Do we have to understand each and every word of an RC passage? Is it? Hi, entrepreneur. Hi, king. No, we do not have to. Okay, so we all know that we have to get the gist of the passage. You know, the central idea is known by a lot of names. It is called the main idea, it is called the gist, right? Crux, no matter what you call it. The meaning starts from the most important incident. Let's say you are that kind of a storyteller, or you start with another story altogether just to draw comparisons with this story. So there are a number of ways to build your story. Maybe you first introduce a particular town and then, delve into the story of that town. So maybe you are an introduction, elaboration kind of a person. So you have to notice similarly, how is it that the author builds their story? Yes? Good afternoon, Arman, Avishkar. So this is what the passage structure is. The way the author builds their story, the tools that the author uses to build their story. What do I mean by that? What kind of tools am I talking about? So, for instance, does the author use a lot of examples to support the key ideas? Okay, so the author gives some examples, then through that, the author then presents a key idea, then another set of examples, key ideas is and another key idea. Is that the way? Or the author, as I said, tells you another story to draw comparisons with this story. Is the author using analogy? Right? Is the author giving us a lot of facts? So what are the tools that the author is using to build his or her story? You know, if we understand this, we will be able to solve a lot of structure based questions. Questions such as, why has the author written this paragraph? Why has the author written this particular sentence? What is the organization pattern of this passage? Such questions, right? So, all in all, you have to understand these two things very well. You have to comprehend these two things very well, the central idea and the passage structure. Once you do that, then you will be able to solve inference questions and structure based questions very easily. Okay, now how to comprehend this? That's the question. You all must be thinking, ye to hame pata hai, that we have to comprehend the central idea. But how should we do that? Let's see. How should you do that? So, first things first that you have to figure out is the topic of the passage. Now, I'm not saying all the details, okay, basically, what is it about? Right. So, for instance, if let's say you read a newspaper article which actually tells you some data, it starts with some data, some statistics about the number of teenagers suffering from mental health problems in 2001, let's say. Then it traces that, okay, so it goes to 2011, then it goes to 2021. So you realize that the passage, that this article has something to do with mental health problems in teenagers over the years. So you have figured out the topic of the passage. What have you figured out? The topic of the passage of the article. But that's not it, right? An article may not just be statistics, may not just be facts. The author also may have some viewpoint regarding this. Okay, the author may want to delve into the reasons as to why the mental health problems have changed over the years, they have increased or decreased, whatever the case is, right? Why has that happened, and what can we do about it? So the author may give such suggestions also. So that means just getting the topic is not enough. It's definitely the very first fundamental important step. But यहाँ पर story खत्म नहीं हो जाती. So a lot of students commit this mistake that they figure out the topic. Okay, this paragraph, this passage, this article is about this. Okay, this topic, but they don't go beyond that, right? The author, whenever I present, let's say I write something, usually I tend to give my viewpoint also about the problem that I'm talking about, the issue that I'm talking about. So the author may not stop there. So the next thing that you have to check is this: has a viewpoint been presented on the topic? क्या कोई viewpoint presented है? Or has the author given his or her opinion? If yes, what is it? Figure that out. So, is the author saying that this increase in the mental health problems among the teenagers can be primarily attributed to social media? Okay, is the author saying that? Does the author hold this viewpoint? Right? Then is the author suggesting something to remedy the problem? So, what are the opinions? What are the opinions that the author has presented on the topic? This actually is the purpose of the author behind writing the passage. Okay, so whenever I write an article, I don't just write it to talk about, let's say, some statistics, some facts. I write it because I have some opinion. I want to voice my opinion. That's why I write. That's the purpose behind my writing the passage, the article, etc. Okay, so comprehension is not a long summary. No, comprehension is simply understanding. When you understand, you also infer things. A summary is simply a brief of what is already given to you. We are not simply giving a brief, we are understanding what is given to us. We are culling out from it the purpose of the author behind writing the passage. Okay, so that's the difference between a main idea and a para summary. Summary is similar. That's why I tell you when we do para summary that it's similar to the main idea question, but it's not the same as the main idea, right? A main idea requires a certain degree of understanding, deriving, inferring, concluding on your part. Okay, so topic, purpose. So far, so good. Anything that you want to ask? Tell me. Anything that you wish to ask so far? No? Let's proceed then. So, what exactly is the central idea? Central idea is the topic plus the purpose. When you combine these two, what is the author talking about and what is the author's viewpoint on what he or she is talking about? That's when you get the central idea or the main point or the crux or the gist of the passage. Get it? Okay, then. Um, you must be thinking, okay, this seems theoretical, but I will apply this to an RC passage. So you'll see what I'm suggesting is a very practical thing to do. Now, the next question that arises is that how do I figure out this purpose? Okay, how do I isolate that? Okay, this is an opinion, this is a viewpoint, this is a key idea presented in the passage. वो मैं कैसे isolate करूँ out of the sentences that is given to me? Let's figure that out. Okay, so these are the things that you have to find out. Let's say you are reading a paragraph. It has 5 sentences. Okay, now out of those 5 sentences, what you have to see is, okay, how many of them are simply, let's say, examples or are simply supporting some other claim? There are some sentences, no, that simply support some other sentence. So how many of these are simply supporting? Let's say in the form of examples, in the form of details. Okay, so just giving details or just emphasizing or reiterating. How many of these are doing that? Right, emphasizing, just complete that. Yeah. Huh? So how many of these are doing that? Whereas, how many of these sentences can I say is a central claim that is made by the author? That this is a key opinion that is made by the author. So, this is what you have to do at the level of a paragraph to identify the key ideas that are present in that paragraph. Right? We'll do this for an RC passage. So, I think then it will be very clear to you. Okay. Okay. Now, if we don't know the meaning of a word, okay, so a question has come up. Let's say while reading a paragraph, I come across some difficult words, right? What should I do? What you should do is at that point, read the surrounding words, read the surrounding sentences, right? One above, one below, and see if you can decipher, if you can infer the meaning of the word from the surrounding words. A lot of times we are able to do that, right? So if you're able to do that, problem solved. Let's say you did that and you're still not able to figure out the exact meaning of the word. Don't worry about it. Understand as much as you can and then proceed. Because in the exam, you don't have a dictionary, so you can't really look up a dictionary, right? So, understand whatever you can and then proceed. It's quite possible that this vocabulary word is not even important for solving my questions. This sentence that has this vocabulary word may not even be a key idea, okay, and therefore not very important for solving my questions. That's why I said that a word by word understanding is not required. Okay, and at home also, when you read an article, let's say you do not understand a word, don't immediately look up the meaning. First finish the article, infer as much as you can, finish the article, and then look up the dictionary. Then definitely look up the dictionary, right? That should be your approach. Okay, it's okay, Vaishnav. Right. Then you have to see that, okay, which opinions or ideas, they are absolutely important to the larger central idea. This point is relevant for very long passages. When you have a, let's say, 1200 word passage, then it's quite possible that there may be a number of opinions present in it, but not all of them actually contribute to the main idea. However, for a 500, 550 word passage, the kind that you get in CAT, the key ideas, all of them will contribute to the main idea. So that means your job ends here. Your job is this much. You just have to isolate the ideas or opinions from the supporting details. Right? Okay. So let's do this for an RC passage. Okay. We'll read it one slide at a time, right? In fact, let's read it one paragraph at a time. And after each, or let's take one slide. Okay, after each slide, I will ask you, okay, what are the most important sentences in this paragraph? What do you think is the opinion? What do you think is the supporting detail? Okay, so I'll ask you these questions. So look at this RC passage here. Okay, this is your slide one. It has two paragraphs. I want you to read both these paragraphs and tell me which sentences represent the key ideas, or as we can also call them, the opinions, key opinions of the author. Right? So read these two and tell me. Tell me the precise sentences. Yes. So for para 1, some of you are giving me the answers. Hmm. Good, Vaishnav. So, for the first paragraph, what would you say is the most important sentence? Good, Vedant. Good. If I asked you to isolate one sentence in para 1, that is a very key opinion, key idea. Which one would you do? And same, and tell me the same for para 2 as well. So for every paragraph, I'm not saying that just read the opening and closing sentences and you'll understand everything. No, I don't belong to that school of thought. But they do hold key information, the opening and closing sentences of each paragraph. So you should read them with particular attention. So here in the first paragraph, we are introducing that how engineering problems are taught. Okay, we sort of isolate the technical thing with from the social thing, right? We tell them that okay, you have to go by the technical ideals, low cost, speed, etc. Right? This is what you have to give importance to. So, this is known as technical social dualism. The idea that the technical and social dimensions of engineering problems are readily separable and remain distinct throughout the problem definition and solution process. So, the author first tells us how engineering problems are taught these days. So, there is a separation between technical ideals and social problems. Then the author comments on it. Then the author comments on it. The author says, but then those social problems are actually the core. They are relevant. These what are we solving ultimately through technology, through engineering? We're solving social problems only, right? So by choosing to downplay public welfare as a critical parameter for engineering design, we risk creating a culture of disengagement from social concerns, societal concerns amongst engineers that is antithetical, that is opposite, okay, to the ethical code of engineering. So, if you see these two sentences that are given here, sorry, yeah, these two sentences are actually the most important in these two paragraphs, right? So, when you read, you should be able to understand is that okay, the gist of the first paragraph is that we are talking about a technical social dualism. The gist of the second paragraph is that we are saying that okay, what happens if this technical social dualism is followed, right? Hope this makes sense. Okay. Now let's go to the next slide. Again, it will have some paragraphs, and again, you have to tell me the same thing. Which are the key opinions? Which are the key ideas? Right? Okay. So we have roughly three paragraphs here, right? And let's see what you say. Yeah. Okay. So what do you say? I've given you ample time to read. But why is the author talking about the health of females? Yes. So, see this. Again, look at the opening line here. In my field of medical devices, so we get to know that the author actually has to do something with either building medical devices, something, yes, related to, because the author talked about engineering earlier. So probably the author is into building medical devices, probably. So in my field of medical devices, ignoring social dimensions has real consequences. If we ignore social dimensions, that has real adverse consequences. Then the author gives an example that, see, because people assigned female at birth, a lot of experiments are not conducted on them, right? That's why these drugs are incorrectly dosed for them, and this can actually lead to adverse reactions in them. So that, because we ignore the social dimension, that we should carry out experiments equally on people assigned female at birth also, because we ignored that, this is what happened. So ignoring social dimensions has adverse consequences. Then the author expands this discussion, that it's not just beyond physical failings. So this was a physical failing, that you did not test the drugs on females, right? But beyond these physical failings, subjective beliefs treated as facts. Sometimes what we do is we treat our beliefs as facts. We don't even experiment at all. Okay, so sometimes subjective beliefs treated as facts by those in decision making roles can encode social inequities. They can lead to perpetuate social inequities. So, again, an important point. And see, it has been supported with an example also. Whenever we support something with an example, that means it's important enough for me to support with an example. Yes? Then the author says this, that, automatically, on their own, they've assumed that people who are black and Asian will have smaller lung capacities. So this is a subjective belief that is being treated as a fact, and that's why their corrections, their correction factors, they are incorrect, right? So this is an important sentence. What else? What else is important in the third paragraph? Because this is simply a continuation of the example. Now, coming to the third paragraph, tell me. So it says, see, systemically marginalized people. Many technologies have not been built, right? So see this. First is that we are not conducting experiments adequately on all the population. Second is that we have these subjective beliefs that actually perpetuate social inequities. Third is we are not even making the effort to have technologies, to build technologies that affect only some marginalized people, right? In fact, now endometriosis afflicts 10% of people with uteruses. Then also we don't have technologies to deal with them, right? Such as better early diagnostics. So, important area. Technologies have not been built because they were not deemed important. So, an important idea. And what else? What else? Yes. Good. Balaji has very aptly summarized this entire slide. So I was looking for this point only, that who actually notices that there is an environment angle also presented towards the end. That's why, I was just checking your messages now, right? So, Ritik, yes, you've also talked about stopping pollution. Parley, correct again. You've also pointed out the environment angle. Correct, correct. Okay, so this sentence is also important. Don't think that, okay, only social inequities have been discussed in this paragraph. No, it is also concerned about the environment, right? We hardly question whether devices are built sustainably. right? Then the author talks about greenhouse emissions, medical waste, right? So even this angle, environment angle, has been explored here. So the author exposes, so author discusses social dimensions and the environment dimensions in the field of medical devices. If you ignore them, what happens, right? So I hope this is clear to you. And see, this is what we discussed. These are the important ideas. So four important ideas in these three paragraphs. So don't think that every paragraph can just have one important key idea. No, it can also have multiple important key ideas. Okay. All right. So I hope this makes sense that although the opening sentences are important, but that does not mean that a key idea cannot be there somewhere in the middle or somewhere towards the end. Please don't think that, right? Okay. Let's come to the next two paragraphs here. Tell me, again, read them and tell me what are the key ideas. Done. So I think again you'll say this, that it's only the opening and the closing sentences that hold the most important information. That's the nature of the opening and closing sentences. They are bound to have important information. Okay. But that does not mean that the information in between is absolutely irrelevant. No. Okay. Sometimes the key ideas are present there as well. Right. Sometimes the example will be important for you because later on a question will be there on the example. So you can't ignore the other things, just that you have to give more stress to understanding the key ideas and reading through the examples, etc. also. Okay, so quickly tell me which sentences are the most important here. Come on. Opening sentence of the first paragraph, absolutely. Social justice must be made core to the way engineers are trained. Yes, so you are right. Then, what about the next paragraph? What was important there? Okay, so we talk about how universities are working on this, right? In fact, I should have underlined this part as well. Some universities are working on this, and individual engineering professors are also working. So it's not just happening at the level of an organization, it's also happening at the level of individuals, right? So I should have underlined this part also, highlighted this part also in purple. And they are also working to embed social needs. So now we give examples of Darshan Karwat, Khalid Qadir, right? These are examples that are presented to you. And the last sentence, when we design and build with equity and justice in mind, we craft better solutions that respond to the complexities of entrenched systemic problems. This is a very important opinion of the author. This is the point that the author wants to make. This is why the author has written this article. The author first tells you what the problem is, the technical social dualism. Okay, what is the effect of this problem? We risk ignoring some very important social dimensions. Then the consequences have been explored in detail. We talk about the social dimensions, we talk about the environmental dimensions, right? And then the author finally gives their opinion that social justice must be made core to the way engineers are trained, right? Otherwise, how would you solve those social and environmental problems? Okay. And how would you design better solutions than what you are doing right now? Right. So I hope this makes sense to you. And now that you've understood, Ritik, okay. नॉट जस्ट कुछ नॉलेज होनी चाहिए ऋतिक. इट्स अबाउट द फैक्ट कि आपको उसके सोशल डायमेंशंस, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली आप जो सोल्यूशंस डिजाइन कर रहे हो आप सोसाइटी के लिए कर रहे हो, राइट? सो आपको उसके सोशल डायमेंशंस, आप एनवायरनमेंट को भी ध्यान में रखो, राइट? Ultimately, whatever you are building as an engineer, it will be put into use in the society, in this, on this planet, right? So you need to be aware of the social and environmental dimensions. So it's not just about having knowledge, it's being aware of the social and environmental dimensions, to be more precise, right? Okay, now let's see what is the central idea of this passage. So you know all the key ideas now. If I asked you to write it in one sentence, what is the central idea of this passage? Yes. Would you like some options out of which you have to find the central idea? Pedagogy is the way we teach, our teaching methodology. Okay, so let me give you some options here, right? What is the central claim of the author, right? That will give you the central idea also. Tell me. And you have to tell me, is this the central idea? 'Is this the central idea?' I've got one response. What about others? Okay. Just two responses. What about others? Come on. Okay. All right. 18 of you. So I want nine responses. At least nine. Okay. So see this. When I say the author is making the claim, that simply means that the author is giving the opinion. Okay. The author is giving the viewpoint or opinion. It does not have to be the central idea of the passage. It may be, but it does not necessarily have to be. If, let's say, the question said the author is making the central claim, in that case, yes, it has to resonate with the central idea, the main idea. But this is just saying making the claim. So the options could just contain one of the opinions, one of the key ideas of the passage. And that is what has happened in this question. You are right. 4 is the answer. That engineering students today are taught to focus on objective technical outcomes independent of the social dimensions of their work. This is something that the author talks about in para 1. So this is just the claim of para 1. No, this is not the central idea. It is our answer because after all this key idea has been given. This opinion has been given in para 1. So answer तो है ये हमारा, पर ये हमारा central idea नहीं है. Right? Why are the others wrong? Let's have a look at that. Um, this is actually presenting it in a positive light, that when they follow technical social dualism, they are able to incorporate social considerations. No, it's false as per my passage. They actually do not incorporate social considerations. Then, the objective of best solutions in engineering has shifted the focus of teaching from humanism and social obligations to technological perfection. Are we evolving? Are we developing the best solutions by focusing just on technological perfection? According to the author, no. We can develop better solutions if we focus on the societal and environmental dimensions, if we focus on equity and justice. Recall the last sentence. So, false. Engineering students today are trained to be non-subjective in their reasoning, as this enables them to develop much needed universal solutions. So, first of all, universal solutions have not been discussed in my passage. Okay. Then this is as this best enables them to develop much needed universal solutions. No, the author is saying it does not best enable them. There can be better solutions. So again, false. Therefore, 4 is our only possible answer that you also gauged. So now you've got one claim of the author that okay, we've practiced this technical social dualism as engineers. Okay, engineers practice technical social dualism when they try to solve an engineering problem. Then the author in the second paragraph comments that when we do this, what is the risk? That we ignore social and environmental dimensions. And this has adverse consequences. This has adverse consequences. So, what is the alternative that the author suggests? That we must actually incorporate this social dimension. Social justice must be made core to the way engineers are trained. So, this sentence, I could just write it as it is. Social justice must be made core. Justice and equity also the author talks about, must be made core to develop better solutions that serve our society. So that's what the author says towards the end. Okay, to develop solutions that solve systemic problems. And the author also states that such efforts are being made. Where are these efforts being made? In universities, at the level of individual professors. So this is all the information, all the key ideas of this passage. Now, if you have to sum this up in one sentence, can you do that? Yes. The topic of this passage was the way engineering problems are solved and the associated problems. Right. And the purpose of the author behind writing is to advocate that social justice. So this is the topic and this is the purpose. When I join these, I could combine this in one sentence that the current technical social dualism being practiced to solve engineering problems has adverse social and environmental consequences, and thus equity and justice must be at the core of solving engineering problems to develop better solutions that solve systemic problems. That's it. That's the main idea of this passage. Fine. Is this clear to you? All right. I hope this is clear to you. So, the central argument of the author is that technical social dualism has adverse social and environmental consequences, and therefore, social justice equity should be at the core of solving engineering problems to develop better solutions that solve systemic problems. Okay. So I've reiterated the main idea quite a few times. Now I hope you've understood the structure of the passage also. It was introducing a problem, elaborating its consequences, and then suggesting solutions. Right. Now, let's have a look at this question. Let me see what you say. The author gives all of the following reasons for why marginalized people are systematically discriminated against in technology related interventions, except. So, which reason has not been given by the author? Tell me. This just quotes sentences directly from the passage, so you need not even go back. Okay. All right. Okay. Others? Okay, answer. I want more responses. I'm just plugging in my phone, laptop's charger. Just give me a second, okay? Meanwhile, you answer. Okay, let's have a look. So, see this. Which all sentences talk about discrimination against marginalized people? Tell me that. Yes. Which all sentences talk about discrimination against marginalized people? See this. Now, if you look at point to which quite a few of you are stating, aren't we talking about racially based adjustments there? Racially based adjustments, they talk about systematic discrimination. Racism, it is highlighting racial discrimination. So, how can two be the answer? It is talking about discrimination. Then, when we talk about social inequities, what are social inequities? The social discrimination that is present in our society. Okay. And in fact, the example that has been given here, the example that has been given here is also this, right? So, even 3 is talking about this. Then, but those technical ideals are at the core of social and political choices determined by a dominant culture focused on economic growth for the most privileged segments of society. So again, aren't we discriminating? We are just focusing on the economic growth of the most privileged segments of society. So even this is problematic, right? Sorry, even this is highlighting the problem of discrimination. It's not problematic. So all these three highlight the problem of systemic discrimination against marginalized people. This is about environment. Didn't you only tell me this? That this is highlighting the environmental aspect, right? So how is this associated with systematic discrimination against marginalized people? This cannot be the answer, right? So that's why one, this cannot be the correct choice. So one is our answer here. Does it make sense? Because one is not related to social discrimination. Perfect. Okay, let's come to the next one. All of the following are examples of the negative outcomes of focusing on technical ideals in the medical sphere, except. Okay, so which one is not a negative outcome? You have to tell me that. Let's see what you say. Okay, Manas, I hope you're saying one for this one. Negative outcomes of focusing on technical ideals. Okay, all right. See this. Exclusion of non-privileged groups in clinical trials, which leads to incorrect drug dosages. Definitely, it's a negative outcome, right? We have talked about this happening to people assigned female at birth. Okay. 3 says neglect of research and development of medical technologies for the diagnosis and treatment of diseases that typically afflict marginalized communities. We have talked about endometriosis, right? Right? This has been given as an example of a negative outcome. So even this is rejected. Fourth says continuing calibration of medical devices. Calibration is making adjustments in the correction factor that has been talked about in the paragraph based on past racial biases. So even this is a negative outcome. Yes. So 2, 3, and 4 cannot be the answers. And our answer is 1. It says incorrect assignment of people as female at birth. No, nobody is assigning them as females incorrectly. No, this is not a negative thing that is happening. Okay, this assignment is not incorrect. We are not developing the correct medical devices for them. We are not developing the correct drugs for them. That is the problem. We are not incorrectly assigning them as female. No, that is not. This is very distorted. So you are right. Those who said 1, absolutely. 1 is the answer, not 3. 3 has been given as a negative outcome. Make sense to everyone? See, if anything is not clear, please ask. Okay, the last question from this passage. Tell me. We can infer that the author would approve of a more evolved engineering pedagogy, teaching methodology that includes all of the following except. So, what will the author not want to include as such? What will the author want to include? 3 of the things the author will want to include. What does the author not want to include? Tell me that. What do you say? Come on, very quickly tell me. Balaji says two. The author would not want this. Yes. Vaishnav Balaji, the author would not want to consider the environment, environmental sustainability. Okay. Three, two. What has happened, guys? Are you not paying attention? See, the author would want environmental sustainability, so two cannot be the answer. The author would also want a more responsible approach rather than just to focus on, on speed and just on the math and science parameters. That is also something that the author would want. So the choice is between one and three, right? But look at one. It says moving towards this dualism. This dualism is the problem. Would the author want to move this dualism? Yes, the author would never want to move towards this dualism. So one is the answer. Yes, you have to pay attention to accept some. So a lot of times it is highlighted in cat, it is capitalized. But what if it's not capitalized? So please pay attention to each and every word of the question stem. What can we not infer? That was the question, right? In a way. ये तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं चाहेगा author, right? ये तो problem है. So one is the answer. I hope this makes sense. Out of one and three, one is better in the sense that it is something that the author would not want at all. This is something that the author may want, that we actually solve problems, societal problems. That's what the author wants us to do, no? That we respond to the complexities of entrenched systemic problems. So we'll solve societal problems only when we pay attention to the exact problems that a locality is facing. So three, the author will still want, but one, no, not at all. Now, what is your homework? What do you have to do? You have to solve at least one passage every day using this approach. Okay. In case you face a particular problem in zeroing in on the main idea or solving the main idea question, whichever of the two, then for one RC passage every day, as you read the RC passage, please make a mental note of the key ideas, just like we did today. Okay. So we stopped for a bit and I asked you. You can do this for the first, let's say, 7, 8 days that you stop and ask yourself. Gradually it should become a mental process that as you read you notice, okay, this is the key idea, then you proceed, right? And then write down. So what did I do? Towards the end of the passage I asked you what is the central idea, and then I gave you this lengthy sentence that was an argument. It had a premise and a conclusion that, okay, this is the problem and therefore this should be the solution. So write down the main idea after having read that RC passage. Okay, do this for a month and I assure you that your comprehension of the main idea is going to improve, right? Solve such RC passages that have a main idea question that will further give you the confidence that whatever you have written, it matches the correct option, right? So this is what you have to do at least for the coming month in case you face a problem in zeroing in on the main idea or correctly solving the main idea question. Okay, all right. So I hope पैसेज में ये भी तो कहा गया है कि सॉल्यूशन सारे फैक्टर्स की नॉलेज के साथ बनाना चाहिए. So motivational world, what are you arriving at? So that means local problems को भी समझना चाहिए. Dualism means dividing, treating two things as separate. For instance, there is a popular dualism in philosophy, body mind dualism. Okay, that a lot of philosophers have studied. So they felt that the body is different It is concerned with the physical aspects, while the mind is different altogether. It is concerned with the mental aspects. Whereas we know today that they are not separate. The body affects the mind and the mind affects the body. Right? So dualism is treating two things as separate and even opposite of each other. हाँ, so बच्चे motivational world, read the question carefully. थर्ड में लोकल नॉलेज की बात कही है ना, तो दैट मीन्स दिस वी कैन इन्फर. द क्वेश्चन इज वी कैन इन्फर ऑल ऑफ द फॉलोइंग एक्सेप्ट. कौन सा नहीं इन्फर कर सकते, वो आंसर है हमारा. ओके, hope this is clear now. And you do have to do the homework. Okay, what I've suggested to you, trust me, you will see an improvement. Okay, and in case you want to know more about our materials, our pedagogy, you can unlock this free trial. Link is in the description. This is our test series. You can enroll in it right now. Okay, it has cat, non-cat mocks, plus it has practice questions for you. Our cat 22 toppers, you can be one of them by joining our comprehensive program. I'm sure you've read the details in the ticker also. The link for this is in the description box. The scholarship test, the next one is going to happen on 23rd at 11 a.m. and you can get up to a 90% scholarship if you fare well in it. Now, in case you want to know more about MBA, when to do it, how to do it, why to do it, a very important factor. Yes. So, do attend this session on the 16th at 11 a.m. Right? And we are everywhere on social media. Do follow us. Yes. Vaishnav, I absolutely understand. Right? And धीरे धीरे हो जाएगा accept because बहुत सारे questions ऐसे आए हैं. So in CAT 22, in CAT 2021, open the past year papers and you'll see there were so many questions that had this accept, this not in them. Okay, so you have to accept it. All right. Okay, then I'll see you next time. Bye bye.